Righto, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the week again for the podcast known as Dirtbagz. I'm your host, Josh Curran. I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Danny Curran. How are we going today, mate?
Wow, I got friend this morning. Wow, I really like that.
I've friend zoned you already, mate.
Yeah, wowzers. Anyway, can't ditch blood, mate. That's what it is. But the most exciting bit, Josh, is we're actually here with a great mate, Toby Price. Now, he is a multi-time Finke champion on the motorbikes. He's a Finke overall in trophy trucks. He's a multi-time AORC champion and Australia's first and only Dakar champ. Tobes, how is it going?
Hey, boys. Yeah, all's going well. So it's busy times in the workshop and getting all organised for Finke 2022. So it's, busy, but we're enjoying it.
Awesome, mate. So for our listeners, we are recording this a little bit out and you're going to be listening to it on the Thursday right before Finke. But Toby is back in Australia. You've been back for a little while now and you're in the shed. You're literally in the workshop there at your down in Brizzy.
Yeah. So we're based down here close by Brisbane and I just got back from a trip overseas from the States. So we did some testing over there on the motorcycle and basically planned for Dakar 2023. So it's full steam ahead back in the workshop here and close by Brisbane and getting this truck all organised and ready to go. So it's on the trailer and ready to head to a chassis dyno and then there the big load up and pack up and get ready for the road trip out. So it's getting exciting now. So it's coming around very quickly.
Mate, that has to be a good feeling because we actually talked about it on our podcast earlier on episode 2. We were talking about that the Dugan's motor was on their way back and they were going to rebuild it. Ray over there, he's a special man. He obviously got it sorted for you and she's back in the truck. So that was a quick turnaround. Does that include air freight? Is that how you get a motor over to America?
Yeah, that's how we get one back to America and everything. So, it has been a little bit of a long process. So, we actually pulled the engine out after Finke 2021 and sent it back to Ray. And unfortunately, there was really no availability of heads and stuff on the shelf. So we had to wait a little while for that. And we missed our cutoff date for shipping it back on the boat. But we air freighted it back and got it here to the workshop and out of the crate, and we've literally just got the engine back in the truck probably 2 days ago, and just doing all final checks, just making sure there's no leaks and going through all those little things, and we're just organised now to have James, Lynn, Dugan's, Ray, and I think Kyle also from Ray, and get them on a live link to basically tap into the truck while they're sitting on the other side of the world. And they'll tune it from over in the States for us and make sure we're all race ready and go from there. So fingers crossed, Wednesday all goes to plan and everything should be good.
Brilliant, mate. Well, that's interesting because you're talking about new heads there. So we obviously don't want to, I don't know whether it's a secret or not. I'm sure it's not a secret, but can you give us a little bit of a breakdown? Do people know how close you were? Like you had some pretty serious failures on the way home. And again, that's just related to, we've been talking about this for a few weeks now. It is amazing. Toby, if you had told me back in 2000 that these motors would be pulling 800 horsepower and revving to 8,000 and running Finke and back, like that's true. That's drag car 10-second territory back in there just a few years ago. Like they are building amazing motors. So let's prefix this with Ray Dugan's and Dugan's as a whole. They build an amazing motor that can hold up to abuse from Toby Price and win the Finke Desert Race in 21. But that said, it was that close to a terminal failure. Like really, you were lucky to drive it onto the trailer, weren't you?
Yeah, 100%. Last year, even though it was all a brand new truck, and like I say, we've had a lot of failures in the last probably 3-4 attempts. So I bit the bullet and I sold the old truck, which is the Geyser that I had, and then I built a new truck with Tisco. So we were building that truck to be ready for the 2020 Finke race, and with all the pandemic kicking off and everything going wrong, I basically ended up leaving the truck sit over there in the States for another 12 months because what was happening was there was a shortage of heads and everything. And not too many people know that actually when we put that first engine together, there was no heads available at that time. So they basically had the block and everything sitting there, all pistons, everything in, just waiting the heads to go on. And unfortunately, my new heads that I ordered for the new engine didn't come through, and we're at our cutoff date. So we had a second-hand set of heads that were on the shelf that had done a bit of racing and a bit of life, and that was my only option to basically get the engine built and ready for 2020. And then when that all got cancelled, I left the truck. I cancelled all the shipping and everything, and then I left the truck there to basically have the engine pulled back out and then put the brand new heads on that I had ordered for 2020, and they still hadn't come through. So the truck sat there for so long. Basically, we went past the cutoff date again, so I just had to basically throw it in a container and get it here to Australia, and that was my only option to ever have the actual wheels turning under its own power. So we got it here and ready for 21, and everything went extremely well on the way down to Finke, and then on the way home, about 105 kilometers from the finish, we started having some water temperature issues, and we kind of thought it might have been a bit of a faulty sensor, but then, you could feel the truck starting to die off a little bit and having some dramas. And Josh Howes, basically, he was 2.5 minutes behind me on day one. So I had a little bit of leeway and a bit of playing room that I could just kind of baby the truck for as long as I could. And then, unfortunately, Josh was on a move and moving pretty damn quick. And he caught me a lot earlier than I thought. And we were about probably 60, 70 Ks. I was hoping I'd get to about 30 looking after the truck. And then I was going through the finish no matter what, whether it was it was either going to sit on the side of the track again or I was going to sit at the finish line. So I looked in the mirrors and then saw Josh, basically at that 60K mark. And I was like, this is not the recipe that I wanted right now. And but basically put the foot back into the floor and praying to the gods, really, just hoping for the best. And luckily enough, it all came through and all went to plan and it crossed the finish line in first. But then I got home from Finke last year, and I literally pulled the engine straight away and put it into a crate, shipped it over to Ray, getting ready to put some new heads or check out what was wrong. And we actually cracked the head inside the exhaust valve. So basically it was just spitting water straight into the exhaust and straight out the back of the exhaust. So luckily it wasn't really going into the top of the piston or anything like that. So that was a bit of a lifesaver there for us, but still done some damage. And we literally only just got those heads that I ordered back in 2020. Basically about probably 2 months ago. So it was put all brand new heads on it, rebuilt the engine, air freighted the engine back, and then literally I only got it probably 3 weeks ago. So it's unfortunate why it's been sitting so long, and I haven't been at any other races. So I really want to go and race at some other events, but I just don't have very much luck with engines at the moment. So it's the way it is.
Yeah, mate, that's amazing. Yeah, because that's crazy that 2 years it's taking it. Like that stinking flu is really caning us, isn't it? It's changed the way that we operate. Like, stuff that we used to get in days, and now it's very, very scarce, and that's a very interesting. But mate, I don't know what to do here, to be honest with you. I wanted to go and talk to you about some history. I'm loving talking about the truck. I want to get back to that because there's a couple of questions I've got for you about trucks, because you've driven quite a few of these states trucks too. Interested in your opinion on those. But let's get back for, again, primarily we're into the cars and into the race cars and the four-wheel drives and the dirt lifestyle. So a lot of our guys might know your history with the motorcycles. So I was very interested because, again, I guess I'm leading you here, Toby. I want to hear about how, because you're a motocross guy, something happened, and then, you've ended up in desert racing, and not just, you've dominated desert racing from then on. So how does a young bloke out of, New South Wales that's riding a bit of motocross, I know you're very professional at your motocross, but, you made that decision and the changeover?
Yeah, so not too many people know the story a bit. I grew up on a big property way out west of Sydney, about 8 hours directly west of Sydney, and had 43,000 acres of land to play on. And being out there, I wasn't into horses, mustering the sheep and cattle. It was all done on motorcycles. So I learned to ride a motorcycle about 2.5, and riding around the farm and everything. So didn't have too much to hit out that way. It was pretty bare ground and everything. And so I think then I went to my first race when I was about 4 years old at Condoblin, and ended up winning there. And then it just started to snowball. Really, we went to another more national style event and won that event. And then basically just some people started to help get us around and go to all these other races. So it was good, always good family time and that traveling Australia. And so it went all through the grades from 50cc up into 60cc at that time. Then it was the 80s. Then I went 125. But won a couple of Australian championships on 60s. Won a couple on 80s. Won a couple on a 125. Also won a 250F championship was last year in juniors back in 2003. So after that, basically I was doing extremely well. I started out doing some circuit racing like dirt tracks. So I was always wanting to go like MotoGP style racing and everything. But as everyone kind of knows, they see me, I'm quite tall and quite big and heavy. And that was not going to be a route that I could take. I was a little bit overweight for the Milwaukee 80s that they had back all them years ago to get yourself around the road circuit. And I went motocross, and everything started going well there. And from there, I finished my last year in juniors when I was 15. Just as I turned 16, I signed my first factory contract with Kawasaki at that time, and went into the motocross and supercross. And I'd never done supercross stuff before, and I basically lined up inside a Sydney Superdome for my very first event. So it's hard to even fit a tennis court in that arena, and quite tight. And I found myself coming up short in a few triples and over jumping a few things. And I ended up getting carted out of that one into a hospital out of the meat wagon. And I got landed on that one. So it was a bit of a strange one. And I was trying to get my head wrapped around that supercross stuff. And then basically, I started just getting a lot of injuries and stuff. So that was what kind of, slowed the progression down a little bit in the motocross, supercross side of things. And, ended up breaking femurs and broke some wrists, broke ribs, knocked myself out numerous times. And I basically went through around till 2016 and then 2006. And then I took 2007 off because the actual rod that was in my femur at that time in my left leg was I ended up crashing, and I bent the rod and snapped a couple of screws that were in place, and my leg just ached and was painful. So I went in for surgery and got it pulled out, and then I was going to go back and start racing in 2008. And I went back into motocross and the supercross, and I think I finished 9th in the championship in motocross, and I missed one round because it was in Tasmania and I couldn't afford to do it. So I was at that time working a full-time job and trying to race motorcycles as well. And it did fairly well, but just didn't kind of come through. And then Kawasaki at the end of that 2008 season said to me they have a spot available to try and jump on the enduro team. And at first I shrugged it off and said, "No, I'm not doing that. That's not for me. I don't even know nothing about the sport." So no, I'm going full motocross. And they said, "Well, we can't really support it too much, and it's going to be basically all based on you again, and working flat out. And to try and compete and be competitive against all the factory guys, it's a hard task to kind of do." So I gave it a couple of days, and then I rang back and just said, "Yeah, sweet. Actually, I'll take the enduro ride. I'll go." And my mindset was I'll just go in there and flog them all and beat them, and I'll make a bit of coin, and I'll save all my pennies up and just try and get ready for going back to race motocross. And I'll have a bit of coin in the bank then. And I actually ended up, and then that was 2009. I ended up winning the Australian Off-Road Championship, and blew my mind a little bit. And a lot of people at that time, Stefan Merriman had come back from Europe, and basically then KTM spoke to me about staying full-time enduro and then starting to do desert racing. And desert racing was something that kind of interested me. So that's how that all kind of kicked off in 2010 for us.
Oh, amazing. So just so I understand that time frame, so you're riding, because it was a KX 450, were you in the 450 class or riding a 250?
Yeah, so I was on a KX 450. So that in enduro terms is the E2 class. So E1 is your 250Fs, and then E3 is like big bore. So at that time, I think it was like 500s, 510s, and all like the Husabergs and stuff like that at that time. So yeah, I was in the E2 class in a KX 450, which is basically a motocross model, racing around through the bush and trying to get around in the championship classes.
Yeah, brilliant. And then, so as part of that, so you went to the KTM team, and then as part of the KTM team, they took you to Finke and Hadar and these desert races because a very famous man called Ben Grabham was on the team at that time.
Yeah, that's right. So end of 2009, I signed my contract with KTM, and Ben Grabham was on the team at that time, and he was dominating in the desert scene at that time out at Finke and Hadar and everything. So I basically had the best coach and right hand man basically right at my fingertips to learn off and get my head wrapped around all this desert style racing. But I think it shocked a few people how quick I took to it, but I don't think they knew that story of me being out on the property in the farm where it was basically 30, 40 kilometers of getting from one gate to the next in one paddock. And all you did was just, get the thing on the throttle stopper and try and get to the other side as quick as you could to the gate. So it was, it came around quite quickly for us. And like I say, Grabbo was there and had a good coach and setting the bike and everything up. And that 2010 season, then I was still doing the off-road championship, and I was doing the enduro cross championship, and also all the desert races and everything as well. So it was a busy schedule, busy year, but I think we ended up winning all the championships in 2010 and had a pretty dominant year. So it was pretty good time.
So one of the initial things that obviously drew you to off-road race or off-road racing of a motorcycle was the high speed and everything like that. That was the attraction for you, just getting to put it on the stop and just go as fast as you can flat out through the bush. Because, I mean, I've watched some of your Instagram clips and stuff like that, and it scares the crap out of me just watching it on my mobile phone. So, the speeds are absolutely crazy. Just for people at home, if you don't know or you've never seen Toby Price, check out YouTube and watch some of these things. And one of the questions I want to know, and it's probably a little rude of me asking this, but probably in 2010, 11, and 12, I think we had a group chat going with a couple of mates from Finke, and the question that dominated it leading up to Finke was, is it going to be Toby or is it going to be Grabbo? It's like asking Mike Tyson, could he beat Muhammad Ali? But do you reckon if you boys got your bikes to the end, because it seemed like there was always a DNF with a bike failure, who do you reckon would have had it? Because
who would have? Oh yeah, no. So listen, he's either put you in a position where you've either got to humble brag or to give up for Grabbo.
So you don't have to say it, but okay. So then,
no, we loved it, is what he's saying.
Well, those years of you and Ben racing together at Finke was just we loved it. It was fantastic. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even down to
100%. It was that was the best time of that 2010, 11, 12 period was probably the most fun I've really had at Finke because it was never going to be an easy challenge. And I don't know, like I say, I the first year in 2010 challenging with Grabbo, I'd qualified third, and so that put me on the second row of that first lot of grid. So Grabbo was in the front row. I'd actually made up a minute on Grabbo and caught up to him down through Finke, but then I think that was the year I think he crashed and then had that broken thumb, and then I think when he got to the end, he was about probably 5 k's short or something, and the bike expired. So, it would have been a tough one. For sure as hell would not have been looking for day 2 to go home because I knew if Grabbo was behind me, it would have been the hunt would have been on. So it's it was definitely a level playing field.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, the other one, you talk about that on the throttle stop. Am I on the right track? I've heard a pit story. It's one of these campfire stories about Roger DeCosca looking at your data on your motorbike engines and basically going, no, it's not possible. Looking at the data, is it this? You're nodding your head. This is a true story, isn't it? Can
Yeah.
you tell us?
Yeah, that's basically like with the Fink race, there's no other race in the world like it. Like you go to Baja events and it's an average speed of about 55 mile an hour. So it's for Fink, we're averaging speeds of probably 75, 80 mile an hour. So it's that's what talking in American terms. So when they were looking at data and looking over things, it was just like these engines are not built for this type of stuff, and they shouldn't be lasting. And which at that point in time, in that period, 2010 to 13, we were kind of struggling to hold these engines together, and everyone was rebuilding engines down the other end. And so after day one, we'd basically nearly expire an engine at about 500 Ks. So it was you'd only get one day out of an engine. So it was definitely interesting. And the guys in Europe then started to see the data and everything as well. And then everyone started kind of working together a bit to get these things a bit more reliable and actually get down to Fink and back. And then before we knew it, we had a lot of good parts, and everything kind of came together, and we were getting 30, 40 hours out of the engine. So it was definitely a big step in the right direction. And I think for KTM, I think too, they liked it a little bit more. They weren't rebuilding 2 or 3 engines every night to try and get ready for a return trip home or getting ready to go practicing, because we were doing like 8 to 10,000 kilometers of practice up and down that track to get ready for the race. So it was a lot of time on the bike and a lot of work, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was crazy back in the day, wasn't it? Like you had the full KTM truck, which again, you still do, but it was nothing for at 4 o'clock in the morning, one of those 250s or a 450 or a 510 or whatever, 505s, whatever they are, to be running down the dirt road beside the campsites to bed in the piston and ring. They were literally a fresh motor, those guys. Because so if you listen along at home, you can't change your motors at Fink. The rule is that it's got to have the same essentially casing number, but if you can rebuild it in that time frame, you're good to go. So you guys had the factory support there where you were going through, and just so we're clear, so were the Honda boys. They were doing the same thing. I remember that Steve Hengefeld come over, remember, Josh, and he had that little 250, and I don't know, it was just on the bop from start to finish. I think he had a switch, and same deal, like just a little 250, but I remember them running it up and down the pit road down at the Fink end to try to get it bedded in and ready for the race. So this was common practice back in that era of time because we were pushing them so hard. So it's an amazing story, Tobes.
Yeah, for sure. That's it. Like we were getting up at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and that's pretty much the time of the trucks and everything leaving. And basically just running up and down the service road a little bit just to try and bed in the engines and wear the bearings in a little bit, so they weren't basically just going from idle to full on stop for the whole time. They don't like that type of thing. So
it's got 2 hours of punishment.
Yeah, it's got 2 hours of punishment coming. So it's just trying to be a little bit nice to them and look after them and everything. So it's it's been good, like to have even guys from Baja and stuff come over. And I remember Colton Udahole came over one year there, and I remember seeing on one of the Fink videos that he crossed the finish line, and I'd gone through in the morning and stuff, and he came across the line, which he's won numerous Baja 1000s and quite a strong rider and knows the ground and terrain in Mexico. And the interview was like, I think the first thing he asked was like, how far am I behind Toby? And I think they said it was like 18 minutes or something. And
you just
the utter look of disgust on his face.
Deflate, and then didn't even say a word, and then just starts the bike and rides away. So it's
those poor water girls.
Things over here, so it's different world for sure.
Yeah, well, we were talking about it on a previous podcast where we said the different styles of racing from Australia to America, where Fink has now become just a flat out sprint race. And if you're not, it doesn't matter whether you're the cars, the bikes, anything. If you're not pushing it at 100% the whole way through, and you've got to run that risk of blowing up a motor or having a fall or having a rollover or something like that, because as we said, there'll be 20 cars or 20 bikes that'll do it, and 19 will blow up and 19 will break, but one will get through it. And if you want to be on the top step, that's what you got to do. Because the other one I remember is as the Instagram clips got longer and longer, like, because videos used to be 15 seconds, and I think you put a video out of it through the whoops, and it was just flat on the limiter the whole way. And I think someone, and then when the videos came out, they went to a minute long, and they said, I seen you haven't put a video out. And I loved it. I think about 15 minutes later, there was like a video up on Instagram of that 500 just on the stopper the whole way through.
Yeah, that's it. It did not get a fresh bit of a back off bit of like fresh bit of air for 1 minute. So it's
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
like I say, there's not too many motorcycles that are really built for that type of stuff in the world, really. So it's normally half the time they get a little bit of a break and yeah, time to shut down a little bit and catch back up. But yeah, Fink's just one of them races that just yeah, you don't give any engine a break out there. So it's
Yep.
very hard on equipment. So it's definitely a test and yeah, a credit to most of all these engine builders and all these bike and car manufacturers. It's pretty crazy and pretty intense.
Absolutely. Hey, mate, we'll deviate a little bit because we'll come back to Fink. Obviously, we love that race, and we're so close to it now. It's definitely the chat amongst our group. That's for sure. We're very excited about it. But let's go down the path of how you ended up at Dakar, because is it my understanding is that it all started really with going over and doing a bit of riding. You actually raced the San Felipe 250, didn't you? And doing a bit of air scramble stuff and all this sort of thing. You're actually on the was it the KTM? I know but it's the C team with Mike Brown. Is that correct?
Yeah, so well, actually, it was the B team with the KTM crew in the States. So in that period in 2012, I went over as a spare rider for the Baja 1000 team. So I got to do all pre-running. So they actually they gave me just a little handheld Garmin. They sent one guy with me and just said basically he'll be a chase guy. We just need you to know the whole track, just so that if somebody has an accident or crashes in the race, you'll be able to jump on the bike, find your way through, just get the bike to the next team, next pit area to yeah, put the other rider on the bike. And that was basically my opening in to try and get ready for some Baja races. And yeah, I basically followed the whole course, found the whole way, that year was from Ensenada down to La Paz. So it's, I think it was like 1,100 miles of riding. So I spread that out over 5 days of riding, I think it was, and just done a couple of sections twice and just checking over everything. And yeah, they basically just didn't give me too much information. Just said, here's a GPS and here's the bike and here's a drum of fuel. And yeah, good luck and just see if you can get down to the La Paz end. And I did that, and they were impressed with that. So I think they kind of knew then my skill a little bit from reading the Garmin GPS and navigating my way through a place I'd never been to ever in my life before. I think that's where the Dakar talk kind of started a little bit. And at that point, Kurt Caselli was starting to do some riding in Dakar and testing with the rally team and everything. And that year all went fairly well. I think we ended up finishing second to the Honda guys. I think Colton was part of that Honda crew and team. And yeah, we were going to come back full force in 2013. So I'd signed up with the B team with Mike Brown. And then at that time was Kurt Caselli and Ivan Ramirez on the A team. And I went over and done the first race, which was the San Felipe 250, and done all my pre-running, done all the testing and stuff, and everything was in really good shape. And we went into the event, and I think me and Mike Brown started third or fourth. We qualified third or fourth, and then by the time Brownie had gone through, he'd actually he'd gone through, like, hit like a bit of a cactus and drove like a big thorn up through the knuckle of his hand, so he was having troubles trying to hang on, and we'd fallen back, I think, to about 7th or 8th place, and we were about 20 minutes off the overall lead. So then I climbed the bike and I got us back into 4th, and I think we were only about 8-9 minutes off the lead. So I'd pulled in like 11 minutes in my section, I think. So it was about 120 miles I had for my section. And yeah, everyone was really stoked and happy and impressed with that. So I'd came home, I'd done some off-road championship rounds and was doing what I was normally doing back here. And then I flew over probably 3 weeks earlier for the Baja 500 race. And the weekend before, we were actually going to head down to start pre-running and testing for Baja 500. I went and decided to go and do one of the National Hare and Hound races, and that was hopefully going to be the championship I'd look to race and compete in 2014 as a full-time rider in the US. And Kurt Caselli was racing it at that time as well. So I thought, why not? I'll just go there and, try and take in as much experience as I could. And, just unfortunate that 2013, at that race at the Hare and Hound, I crashed, and that's when I broke my neck in 3 places.
Yes.
And was laying in a hospital bed, contemplating my life of what was going to happen for me, and if motorcycles ever going to be possible again. And I basically laid in a hospital bed there for a week, and they weren't going to do nothing. The insurance company that I was with, they pulled the pin on me and basically went hightailing and running, because it was going to be about $500,000 US surgery to fix all my neck. So they hightailed it, and then the scramble then started to try and get myself back home to Australia and get myself all fixed up. So I got kicked out of the hospital, basically, went and stayed in a hotel for 2 nights and waited for a flight with Qantas. And I flew from LA back to Brisbane in a full big halo system and everything. They'd screwed in on my head to keep myself all straight and on the narrow, and landed in Brisbane on Anzac morning 2013, and then I caught a cab from the airport across to the hospital, and then went under surgery about 6 hours later, and had all the 8 screws and 3 rods put in my neck. So it's my head's screwed on literally now, so I can have a bit of fun and joke around with that one, and cruise around from there.
Brilliant. So that was through KTM, is that right, Toby? Or it was someone that, like, how did you get on to knowing to go to Brisbane for a doctor?
That was a little bit through KTM. So actually it was that 2012 period. That's when actually Grabo broke his back as well. So Grabo had seen a doctor, Paul Lucina, in Brisbane Private Hospital up here, and he fixed Grabo up all perfectly straight and narrow and sorted it and got him back on a motorcycle. So it was like, well, that's going to be my best option I can kind of take. So that information again came from Grabo, and kind of went from there.
Brilliant, mate. So then I don't know where to go here, because we're leading towards Dakar, but I'm actually interested now that you've mentioned Baja and talking about Mexico, because you've done some amazing racing in 4-wheels in Mexico. Is there any amazing, I mean, I'm sure you can tell Mexico stories. Most people can tell Mexico stories for days, but like, you ended up racing with none other than Jesse Jones, who is one of the wildest men known to live. He's a beast of a man. And like, tell us, there's got to be some crazy stories about pre-running and racing with Jesse. And Jesse always had amazing equipment, still does. Like, they're always at the cutting edge. He was one of the very first with a 4-wheel drive truck out there floating around at that level, like with the Masons and that. And, he always had beautiful guys at trucks. So I'm sure that was an amazing experience in itself.
Yeah, 100%. Jesse is an absolute legend. You have so much fun with that guy, but he's a wild man, that's for sure. So, but he's always had really nice equipment. He's always, been at the front running with, I guess in his younger days, probably from that 2005 period onwards, he was always running at the front. He'd won a score championship, I think, in a geyser truck and everything. So that's the story is how I've kind of met Jesse was, when I went back over to the States, I went and did a Red Bull Day in a Dirt event, and I met Bryce Menzies. He was at the event, just hadn't have his Pro 4 on display and everything. And I actually started doing quite well at the Red Bull Day in a Dirt, and winning a few categories. And Red Bull Australia had kind of hooked me up with Red Bull US to just kind of look after me and just make sure I was all good, because I was over there on my own and just kind of backpacking it really, and floating around with a small van and just one dirt bike and a fuel drum and a toolbox, and I'd set up and go and Glen Helen and everything and just go and have some fun. So that race I met Bryce Menzies, and from there, that was like when I went back over to the San Felipe race. I went over to one of the hotels that Bryce was staying at, and started just wanted to go and catch up and say g'day. And they were sitting all in like a motorhome camper. So at that time it was like Bryce Menzies was inside, Jesse Jones, the Warwick brothers from Tisco, Mark McMillan was in there. I think Steve Menzies was in there. So I basically kind of said g'day to all the guys there and was hanging out and cruising along, and had a chat with them and everything. And then as I left, one of the guys that was taking me back out to the car and everything, he was like, he said, you probably wouldn't know. He said, but all in that van and that motorhome, there's probably quite a lot of money sitting in that motorhome. So to me, that was like, I'm not too stressed. I'm not too worried if you've got $2 in the bank or you've got 50 million sitting in the bank. It makes no difference to me. So I was like, oh yeah, that's cool, rad, sweet as, no worries. And I went to a 6-day enduro in I think it was 2014, and as I finished the 6th day, I just finished second in the world and first in E3 class. And I was like, basically, I wasn't too far. I think I was in Argentina. So the 2 weeks later, I think the Baja 1000 was on. So I messaged Bryce and just said, hey, is it cool if I come over and actually help pit for you guys? And at that time, Bryce and Jesse were driving together. So he's like, yeah, sweet, no worries, we'll take care of you. Look, jump on a plane and come over. And so I flew over, and then basically, all I was doing was doing the shopping for them and stuff, going buying bottles of water and washing the windscreens of their pre-runners and washing their cars and hanging out. And that's when I kind of got to know Jesse a bit more. And Jesse's like, oh, what, like, you just finished second in the world and you're coming over here washing my car. He's like, what the hell's going on? Like, that's random. And like, not many close to being a world champion, like, people do that type of stuff. And I'm like, I just love racing, and it's in my blood. I love doing it. And I said, Baja is this one place I love to come, and it's always a good story to tell from here. So I said I was more than happy to just come and help and do whatever we need to do. And he kind of took a bit of a liking to that, really, and didn't really mind that I was there helping out. Actually, it wasn't just sitting back and like kind of thinking, nose in the air, and from doing all the racing I was doing on the bike. And so then that was that. Basically, that year had finished up. I think the boys had a bit of a rough run with the truck. I think they got a few too many flats or something, and they didn't have the greatest of results, but still a good time. And then that was like, then the following year that's when I went out and done the trophy truck with the bike. And when I done quite well, I done the bike and the truck, and I finished first on the bike, second in the trophy truck outright, but first in class. And then I think Bryce and Jesse weren't driving together that year, and Rick Geiser basically said, shit, like, Jesse, if you're looking for someone to drive, Toby did quite well at Fink, so maybe you should look at just throwing him in the truck with you. And next thing, Jesse rings me and he goes, he said, you want to come back over for the Baja 1000? I said, yeah, sweet, mate. I'll come over and wash cars and do whatever I need to do for you, and I'll help you out, no problem. I'll change tires, whatever you want. And he goes, no, you're going to come over and drive for me. So you'll be the spare driver. And I was kind of a bit shocked and didn't know what to say. I was like, I've only raced a trophy truck once in my life, and now you just take me into the biggest race of the off-road world, and you're giving me that chance. So it was basically, and from there, basically the connection just kicked off, and we've got along ever since, and still keep in touch with Jesse now. So he's an unreal person. Love being around him, and he's always a good time.
Yeah, absolute beast. No, that's so cool, mate. And it's so amazing that that's the way that you got the opportunity. I hadn't heard that story. And, like, again, sometimes boots on ground and just doing those jobs, and it can lead to amazing opportunities. You know what I mean? Like, that seems to be probably a lot of people know of Toby Price, the Dakar champ, and I don't want to call them getting on board late, but, they don't realize that there's a lot, because that even goes into, I've talked to you about, there's probably a lot of people that think that you've got a full Red Bull program and blah, 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 and your truck just turns up, meticulously polished and ready to go. I see you laughing because that's where I'm going. I don't want to wreck your illusion, mate. You're a superstar, but the flip side is you physically bolt your own brakes on. You're the guy putting spanners, putting motors in cars. Obviously, the support is amazing from who you've got around you as sponsors and all of that sort of stuff. But it's not all it's not all the show that the movie would see, would it? There's a lot of hard work that goes into this racing, even when you're at the top of the sport. And this is true of even the American guys. Like, sure, there is a few guys that are pretty lucky in their position, but guys like Harley Letner and that, like, he's still working on the week. He's putting motors in race cars. He's doing testing. He's tuned to turn, and you're in the same boat where, you know, you're driving the truck out to Finke. And I don't know if you are this year, but previously you have towed cars out and done bits like yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to, like, you know, encourage almost the people that are out there that, you know, like, this dream of a free ride isn't really, I mean, it's a great ride, but there's a lot of stuff that goes into, and you've got to be prepared to be the guy boots on ground, washing windscreens, because that's how opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, 100%. That's like a lot of people. I get a lot of people that message me and say, "Oh, geez, I wish I had your life." Like, it seems like it's kind of all been handed to you. And but yeah, behind the scenes, not many people see what actually kind of goes on, and there's a lot of work involved in it. And like I say, for me to get my chance to race some trucks and do some Baja 1000s in some of the best equipment, I started out washing windscreens and changing tires and stuff. So it's yeah, it does. Like, sometimes it gets a little frustrating. You see people comment and things like that, but it is a part of the world now of social media and stuff. And it's like, I have really great supporters on board with that help out with Finke this year and in previous years and stuff. But trust me, sometimes I think probably out of the last 5 I've done at Finke, I've probably pulled 20 to 30 grand out of my own pocket to go and do Finke. Yep. And people think that just I have free reign and everything is open and there's no budget, there's no limit. But trust me, there is a limit, and that's why I drive the transporter and stuff sometimes out with Dad and tow vehicles out and everything, because I can't afford to put other people on to kind of do that stuff. So it's these are the goals and dreams that I want to chase, and these are the fun things I love doing. And you've got to get your hands dirty and get there and get it done. So yeah, I'm in the workshop trying to help do as much as I can, tighten bolts up and putting bash plates and everything on the truck, bolting engines back in. But it's it's from the social media world. People just see the sunshine and rainbows and just think it's it's all put together and planned for me, and I'm just sitting back relaxing. So I get up early in the morning and go and do my training for racing the motorcycles, and then I'm back in the workshop basically building and putting things together and working on things that I like doing, and then ride or train in the afternoon on the motorcycle and stuff like that. And then sometimes I'm in the workshop till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and basically getting up the next morning to repeat and do it all again. So it's it is what it is, but it's I know the work and effort that puts into it, and people that are involved with the sport for sure know that this is not an easy task. And I give massive big hats off and credit to people that do work 9 to 5 and then come home and sit in the garage and work on the bikes or work on the trucks and buggies and everything like that, because sometimes I don't know how people pull it together, because I do have basically a full day to kind of work on my trucks and work on my bikes, and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of time to put all this stuff together, to get in the car and actually go to a race meeting and go and do something you love to do. So it's hats off to all the privateer guys that do that stuff. It's not an easy task.
Well, because it's not even just the race car alone. Like I see you put a photo up on social the other day. You and JP were doing all the wheel bearings and everything on your transporter and everything like that. And then you were just talking about, like, you've got to drive the truck out yourself. You've just done your truck license as well, so that you're able to drive the truck. So, but that is that's
a few years, mate. Don't worry.
Did you do the crash box? Did you do the? Is it?
Yeah, I did the crash box, mate. And don't worry, I didn't crash through. That's for sure.
Well, we had that. We sort of we'll just hop on a little bit and we'll tell a bit of a Toby Price coattail story. But we had a similar one where we were driving a truck out to Finke one year, and the old boy was going to come with us, and then his work plans totally changed, and we had 2 weeks and to get a license. Otherwise our truck wasn't getting out there, so we had to ring up the transport, and I literally booked in to do a test without ever driving a truck, and then found someone that was stupid enough to try and teach me how to drive a truck, and that's what you got to do. So like you said, it's not just prepping the truck as well. Like the race truck, it's the transporter, it's the trailer, it's the vehicle that goes out there.
That's the biggest killer.
I don't know just how many, labor intensive.
I was going to say, we're generally fixing lights on trailers before we leave for Finke, like hours before. I don't know. It always gets us, always.
Yeah,
But
you're downstairs with the trailer. You got a torch in the mouth, trying to. Yeah, it's
Yes.
like 9 o'clock at night, trying to
You know.
twist wires and stuff together.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
you know,
hope that it
definitely.
works and stuff. That don't worry, it's
Yeah,
chaos and nightmare.
yeah,
Exactly the
yeah,
same thing here at my
yeah.
shop. So
And it
it
doesn't matter
happens
how
everywhere. Everyone thinks it's like I say, it's smooth sailing, but yeah, that's it. Like I say, it's some of the stuff that probably doesn't need to be done, but you've just got to check it. It is a 3-day drive out to Alice Springs, and if you're better off to do it here at the workshop where you've got all the tools, you've got all the right equipment and stuff. And yeah, we checked all the wheel bearings and we took all the wheels off and checked over everything, and they were all perfectly fine. But if we didn't do it and didn't check it, we'd probably get out halfway and again get stranded on the side of the road, and then go, sheesh, we've got the wrong size wheel bearing. And
yes.
while ever there's a shop here, we can just go down the road and pick it up and get it done.
There's tons of parts on the Barclay Highway.
Oh, no,
Tons
yeah,
of parts.
a lot of cars, mate. What's that old bush mechanics story?
Yeah.
The boys found carburetors out in the middle of the bloody bush, so you'll be sweet. So it's
Love it.
Yeah, no, it's good though. So it's good to still have my mum and dad a part of it all, and I probably do stress my dad out, as we all kind of do, and run him to on the limit. And yeah, like I say, he's only getting older, and I'm getting older. I can feel it already. So I can only imagine what he feels like, and I put him under that much stress. But it's it's cool. Like, we just try and take our time, and we give ourselves plenty of lead time to get these things done. But it's not only servicing the trophy truck itself or the motorcycles. It's doing the trailers and making sure you got all the spare parts in the prime mover. You're making sure you've got all the race fuels and spare parts for the truck, and you're going through triple checking everything just to try and make this all kind of happen and go as smoothly as possible. So, but you can put so much prep into it, and it can turn to absolute shit and complete nightmare in the blink of an eyelid. So it doesn't matter how much money you throw at this sport or this whole program and everything. It doesn't guarantee you nothing in the sport, that's for sure.
That's very true. Mate, so you probably covered there, because we actually led into, because you said about the trophy truck. Well, I was going to ask you how you got into the 4-wheel stuff. I mean, obviously it's every man's dream to end up with a trophy truck. That's logical. But when it was the Iron Man was what truly got you, like, you rented a trophy truck the first time, and then you ended up with a trophy truck, very much the same sort of like a Geyser trophy truck that you bought out of. It was actually an Australian guy that you got out of America, and it ended up here and raced it. And that's a great story as well. But it was the Iron Man attempt that really got you the first ride in in the driver's seat of a trophy truck. So talk us through, because that Iron Man attempt, now it had been done previously by Billy, and I love Bill. Everyone loves Bill. He's an absolute legend. But I suppose you took it to another level with your capabilities on a motorbike. You made it a reality that at some point, I mean, it's very clear that you have the ability and the capability to be 1-and-1. And that would be truly insane. That's something, wow, that, to have that skill set, mate, like, of good on you. I'm serious. Like, that's impressive, because normally we've got a great bike rider and a very average car, not average, but like an average car. You do both well. So you've got that opportunity. You saw an opportunity, you grabbed it, you were this close. Are we going to revisit it, or it's not an option, or?
No, for sure. It's definitely on the cards. And like, honestly, I wanted to try and do it again this year. And just the way my cards kind of fall a little bit now that Dakar kind of takes main priority and stuff now, which is, fair enough. And it's, like I say, if you crash a motorcycle at Finke, you're not going to come out the other side of it pretty good. So it is a tough one to kind of run that risk to go out there and race on the 2 wheels there now, that we have to really kind of keep our eyes set on Dakar, which is in January. So even though it's 6 months later, it's going to be a catastrophic crash out there, and things are going to take a long time to heal. So it's just got to try and be a little smart with it. Like I say, I'm only getting older, and the body definitely starting to say, we got to look after ourselves a little bit now, because that period from 20 to 29, basically, I smashed myself into the ground that many times, and at that point in time, I was willing to die to win a race. And I remember saying that to Matthias Walkner one time. It was, I'll die winning this race. I don't care. Like, I'm all for it, and all I want to do is go full gas. And if it's a big one, so be it. So now it's like, you start to think, geez, I've got to kind of look after the body a little bit. I've got a long time ahead of me that I've got to enjoy life. And kind of, sit back and enjoy all these things that I've done. But 2010, like I say, when it was the first time at Fink, was the first time I saw the buggies and the trophy trucks, and I'm like, what the hell is this world? Like, this is out of control. Like, it's my dad used to race off-road back many years ago. I think when I was kind of still running around in nappies and stuff at that time. They had an old International Scout. My uncle used to drive, and my dad used to navigate. And he had an old V8 Cleveland or something, mid-mount engine in it and everything. And so my dad used to race off-road, but at that age, I'd never really clicked onto it, and I couldn't drive cars and stuff myself. So that's where I went the motorcycle route, because I could do it pretty quick. So, and then 2010, that's when I first seen him. It was just like, wow, this stuff looks badass. So how do I get into this? And then when I looked at the price tags of them and everything, I was like, oh, I've got no chance. Like, on my budgets that I'm running with, riding a motorcycle, there's no hope in hell of getting in one. But each year I went to Fink, just that love for it, I guess, kind of just grew more and more and more. And things were going in the right direction. I was winning a lot of races, and like I say, I was storing a lot of money away, trying to save up because the future goal and plan was to buy one and everything. And I think it was that 2015 period I bit the bullet and rented Brad Gallard's truck. At that time, he had a twin turbo new style geyser truck, and then he had his old V8 Chev based geyser that he had in the shop. So I rented that from him, and like I say, I was always I saw Billy do it with the Ironman class, and like I say, it was in a different kind of aspect for him, because it was we would look at it and go, we could see if it could work and see if somebody has enough energy to actually really do it. And but Billy was starting early in the truck, and then he qualified, I think, around like mid-pack-ish, which gave him a lot more time to kind of get home and get on the bike and race and take off. But my biggest problem to the whole thing was, like, I have to be super fast in the truck to get down there as early as possible, to then fly back and hoping that I was first, second, or third off the line on the motorcycle category, which they take off at 11 o'clock. So I started like crunching numbers and how fast helicopters kind of fly, how fast airplanes fly, and how fast I'd have to be in the truck to then make it at the time and have a cutoff time, whether I was at 190 or 3 kilometers from the finish line. If I went past that certain time, I basically had to just climb out of the truck and jump in the helicopter and fly back and get out of there. So it was a lot of, like a logistic nightmare. And it's not a very, very easy weekend. Like, I think weekend for me is quite busy. And you see a lot of fans and a lot of people that come out to visit and say hello and be around to watch me ride a motorcycle and drive trucks and that stuff now. But it was so much calculation in it to try and see if it could actually work, running at the front of both groups. And the numbers all stacked up perfect and looked like that they would actually work. So we bit the bullet with the guys and said, let's have a go with it and just see if it's actually possible to do and see if I can actually drive one of these trucks. So Brad took me down for a test day. I drove around and it's like, I could probably work this out, it'll be all good, and let's just go full send and see if it make it work. And that very first attempt, I went down, I was like third overall in the trophy truck, and then I flew home on the plane because it gets me home about 15 minutes quicker than a helicopter. And then I basically had about probably 35 minutes spare up my sleeve to get myself ready to race the motorcycle, and went down on the bike. We were leading on day one, so that was all good, in the right spot and right area. And then day two, coming home, about the same thing. I was about probably 80 Ks from the finish, and next thing, the old truck started to die off, and a bit of a headache, but we were still foot to the floor and going to it. I had navigator Kyle Fitzner in with me that year.
Yep.
So, he had his feet up over the dash, over the finish line, down the Fink end and everything. So it was a bit of a wild ride for him, with somebody not knowing what they were doing at the steering wheel, really, and trying to work it out along the way. And, on the way home, then I started to actually catch dust, and we were running on 7 cylinders. We'd actually dropped the valve, and it had just timed it perfect. I got super lucky this year as well the valve had come down and like landed on the top of the piston, and it went like up in an angle, and then just wedged itself back in the hole of the head, and then just punched the thing into the head, but didn't crack the piston, didn't like let the rod go or nothing. So Luke Hendry, which actually he was just here with us helping try to put the engine back in. He's still got the piston and the head and everything that was at that time. He was doing the engines for Brad, and he's still got it. And he said, I don't know how the thing didn't just to be a time bomb and explode. And caught, and then in the dust, I caught and passed Bo Robertson, gave him a couple little love taps, and cruising along, and got into second. And that was, second overall and first in class 4 with the trophy truck. And then, days 2 on the bike, run home, all went extremely well. And we won on the bike. So I was about 7 minutes short or something, I think, of the overall lead in the truck. So it came quite close, but it was, that's the worst part, is that now that's a fire burning in my stomach that I know it's possible to do.
Yep.
And it hurts me that I still haven't been able to have a crack at it and try and make it happen. But you got to have a lot of things go right for you, because motorsport racing, there's so many moving parts, and just things can go wrong very, very quickly.
Absolutely. Well, that sort of leads us into, with that, you're talking about the motorbikes and then the car. So would that be an option? So going forward, are you looking into like moving into car racing full time once the motorbike thing is run its course with age? Is that something that's a possibility for yourself?
Yeah, for sure. That's like, I think that old saying that everyone kind of knows, with age comes a cage.
Yeah, very good one. It's a very good one.
Very good one, because you do drive these trucks and get out the other end and go, I feel like I could go and run a marathon right now. And like they do beat you up a little bit, but they do handle extremely well, the same as the buggies, and got plenty of horsepower and stuff. But the bike takes a lot of wear and tear on your body, and definitely beats you around and beats you up. So I just know I'm not going to be able to do that for the rest of my life. I'm going to enjoy riding bikes and still cruise around and have fun on them, but I can't be competitive and at the top of the field when you have younger guys. When at 21 years of age, when I was doing it, I was willing to die for a race. So it was all young guys have that kind of mentality, and things just don't heal quite as quick now. So for sure, it's definitely a goal and a dream to try and compete and race Dakar in the car, and do like what Stefan Peter Hansel and them guys have done, like Nani Roma. They've all won Dakar on a bike, and they've won Dakars in a car, and that would be hopefully the next kind of goal for us. But Stefan Peter Hansel's record, I think, of 6 on the bike and now 7 in the car, I think is a fair old tall order to
amazing.
Yeah, he's laid the gauntlet down.
He's laid the gauntlet down hard. So, it might be a bit of a hard one to chase, but if I could try and win one more on the bike, I'd be super happy. And, I definitely consider that option to switch to 4 wheels. But I know myself, I'm still competitive on a motorcycle, and I know I can still win a Dakar without sounding cocky or too crazy with it. But I know I've still got the speed to do it, and I don't want to hang the helmet up too early and look back in 20 years' time and go, geez, what if I went one more year on the bike, would have maybe have happened? So, like I say, 2019, that Dakar I won with a broken wrist. I would never have thought at all I would have been winning my second Dakar with a broken wrist. So it was definitely, you got to be in it to win it, and that's the thing. It's line up and just hope for the best sometimes and get into it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so one question, because you were talking about that desire still burning in the bike. I'm asking all the questions here that ask you to compare something, but the adrenaline rush of the bike versus the trophy truck at Finke does the bike still get your hairs up on the back of your neck, like that danger? You're out in the element and stuff like that, and like you said, the trucks are cool, the buggies are cool, but there's that real you and the bike against the track versus like the truck really doing a lot of the work. Like I've said before, if I could ride a bike like Toby Price, I'd be racing a bike at Finke, not the buggy. Like I'm just not wired that way.
That's a pretty logical statement, mate.
Yeah, I'm just not wired that way. I don't have the skill, but as a guy that dabbles in riding motorbikes, there is something about that, the open air, the rawness of riding a bike that is just.
Well, here you go, Josh. again, seeing as this is dropping straight before Fink, I don't know if you'll get everyone on side here with the car boys, but Josh, you've openly said, haven't you? You said it's a motorbike race that we're lucky enough to
Yes.
come along to.
Yeah,
You know,
100%.
like Fink is a motorbike race, and the car guys sort of have to get it through their head that you know, it was built around that, and that's what's so epic about it. That's what the locals love. The cars are an awesome sideshow. Like they're brilliant. People love trophy trucks, love buggies, like you said, but the motorbikes is where it's at. Like those guys battling that track. It's just, we run out. So we've done this, so like where you race the buggy down and then like everyone will be like celebrating, cheering. Yep. But we're back and we'll run down the service road 30 Ks down in our race suits so we can see you guys hit the 25K whoops through there. Like, cause we are motorbike boys. So we actually rode in 2010. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Actually, I beat Grabo that
I was
year.
gonna say we beat Grabo that year. That's we do say that quite regularly. But really,
sure.
yeah,
100%. Never did it again. But
it is cool as someone that does enjoy riding bikes to hear you talk about like the fact that it's still, you know, it excites you and it's something that you're still super passionate about. So yeah, just wanted to ask about the comparison between, you know, the bike and the car and the adrenaline levels that you get between those two vehicles.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like I still love motorcycles through and through, and that's like, it is a very, very fine line that I am walking at the moment, because people do see that, yeah, I am doing four-wheel stuff and thinking that, yeah, that's like the direction straight away already that I want to go. But I still know I'm competitive on a bike, and I know what I'm doing on a bike, and there is no feeling like, there's no feeling like being on a motorcycle, and there's no feeling like being in a trophy truck. There's just, they're two completely different categories. One, you're going to get seriously hurt when you hit the ground because there's no seat belts, no roll cages. But then you can still get seriously hurt in a trophy truck, but you do have that bit of a boundary around you that you feel like you're bulletproof, and it doesn't take as much wear and tear in the body, but you still travel at the same speeds and get out of control and things. So it's but like I say, I love both sports. Like anything with engines and wheels, like sign me up. I'll race a lawnmower if somebody wanted to be next week. So it's I'm all for just getting dirty and having fun and trying to go as fast as I can on anything really. But it's for sure the love for the bike is still there, and I still want to try and get out to Fink one more year on the bike to try and make that kind of double thing work, and the Ironman class, and just like I want to be able to, like I say, I want to be able to hang my helmet up at the end of my time and go, I gave it everything I did and it didn't work, and I can walk away happy. At the end of it, if it works, then I'll be twice as happy, and then I guess you start thinking more crazy stupid ideas, so it's never ends.
Well, I definitely think you've changed the game anyway, Tobes. Like, you know, there was a lot of great guys and there will be a lot of great guys before and after and whatnot. But it was interesting. I heard a podcast the other day and they were talking about the Toby Price effect at Dakar. So it must be pretty amazing and, you know, like you're full of, you know, excitement to hear that people talk about that way about, you know, there's pretty much with Dakar. And again, don't get me wrong, there's obviously legends of the sport and there will be legends afterwards. That's a never changing thing in racing, is it? But is it nice to know that you've had that sort of effect in such a, I mean, it's the sport, isn't it? Like as far as motorbike racing, Dakar is the pinnacle. It's the hardest race in the world.
Yeah, that's it for sure. It's like, yeah, I don't really sit there and take notice of it myself too much at all. Like I really don't see myself changing the sport in any direction or any way really, but it's in other people's eyes, yes, they do kind of see it as that, and they do say them things, and it's, yeah, it does make you quite, pretty chuffed and pretty proud that you've been able to bring, I guess, a different element and a different kind of style and speed to the event and everything. And that's definitely, yeah, like I say, when you hear it, you start to think about it a bit. But at the end of the day, it's like I'm always like, well, I'm tunnel vision, looking forward and looking ahead, and don't really have that time to sit back and look back on life really. So like, yeah, as I say, I just wrote that endurance book while I was injured last year at Dakar when I was with all my shoulder and stuff, and it was actually kind of good to go through all that because, yeah, I kind of went back through all my life really and started to think, geez, I have done some pretty cool stuff and pretty cool events and been around awesome events and stuff like that. But it's, yeah, like I say, when you're in fighting fit and healthy and all good, you're just tunnel vision looking ahead and the direction you want to go. So it's, no, it's definitely cool that we're a part of the Dakar race, and to be, I guess, I was the first non-European speaking person to win Dakar Rally. So I think at that time it was probably a little bit on the rough side for them guys, because they had to listen to me speak, and us Aussies, we just speak flat out and no one can understand us. And
Yep.
they're trying to work out what I'm actually kind of saying, but it's for sure a cool event and something cool to be a part of. And it's, it only gets bigger and better every year. So it's 2015 was my first attempt, and we finished a third place on the podium there. And that was basically from the Baja races and stuff that I was doing. That gave me a chance to go to Dakar, but that one was based off the team manager at that point in time, Alex Doringer. He actually paid the bill for me to go and race the event on a stock standard 450 rally bike. And as the event went along, I started doing quite well and started to come through the ranks a little bit. And then it was like I always kind of kept saying to everyone, it was like I was playing a computer game, collecting the coins like in Mario Kart or something. And then at the end of the day, I could go to the shop and start buying like suspension and get some like little bit better upgrades of a oil cooler and stuff like that. And then before I knew it, I finished my third on the podium. And Nani Roma at that time, he was in the minis and came over and was talking to me, being a motorcycle guy, and he was like there's no sponsors on the bike, it's white, like who helped you get here? And I was like, oh, it was only Alex, and that was about it. Like, it was just the last minute call, and would I be interested in having a go? And I bit the bullet and hadn't jumped on the plane and went for it. And he was like, oh, that's a pretty cool story, it's rad. Like, nobody's really ever just showed up the first time and podiumed at Dakar. It's a lot of things going on that changed the whole aspect of the race, and all went quite well. So then I signed my contract with KTM, Red Bull KTM, and went back the second year in 16 to try and make it look like the first one wasn't a fluke, and actually ended up winning the race. So it was kind of blew everyone away. I was pretty quick to stand on top of the podium at Dakar, and doesn't come too often. It took Mark Coma, I think it was 5 or 6 attempts to win his first one. So, it was a pretty crazy time, and it took off from there then.
Yeah, brilliant.
So sorry, just to circle back and just ask a question. You were saying that as you're riding along, it was like you're collecting the coins and you're getting upgrades. So as you were, say, going faster and faster and getting competitive on stage, like they were like, oh man, we need to get behind this guy, and they'd like, during the race, actually throw like an upgrade on your bike and stuff like that for you during the race. Like, so the race bike that you started with ended up being a little bit different to the bike that you finished with in that exactly. 1 year.
Yeah, in that same year in 2015 was like I say, the rally bike comes basically stock trim with 48mm forks. It has a WP rear shock in it, but it's not like the factory style shock or anything. It had stock clutch plates in it. It had basically a stock engine that was built to last for Dakar. But as like the day 4, day 5 was rolling along, and I was doing some pretty good results. Like one of the day, actually, it was unfortunately Sam Sunderland crashed out of that race that year. So they basically had a spare bike sitting there with all factory parts on it. And next thing, all of a sudden, the guys come over and said, oh, we've got a spare set of 52mm forks. Like, we'll throw them on your bike, and that'll help just like look after your arms a little bit and just be a bit easier on you. So they changed all the front end in the bike for me and put some 52mm forks in. And the next day I improved and done a little bit better again. So like, oh, come over. And the next day was like, oh, here's a factory shock. You can put that in the bike and see how it kind of feels and change it all up, and went better again. So then they were like, oh, well, let's put a clutch in the bike so it doesn't burn a clutch out and doesn't go to the back of the pack. And each day as it went by, it was like a little upgrade that came, and it just started the bike getting better and better and better. So it's pretty wild story. Like, it's like I say, not too many people know that side of it. It's just like I say, it was like I was collecting coins for the day, and then come into the shop at the end of the day and just, there's the upgrade of forks, I'll take those off the wall. And here's the upgrade of the oil cooler, I'll take that today, and stuff like that. So it was pretty rad story. And and then like 16 was just a dream come true, really.
Was there a point in time in 16 where, I mean, I know you never can jump the gun too early, but was there that point in time where you're riding along and you're going, wow, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. This is, you know, did you have that moment, or was it standing on the podium where you're like, wow, I've just won the Dakar? Like,
Yeah, it didn't really kind of sink in until I got to the finish line, standing on that podium, having that trophy in my hand. So like, I wasn't counting all my eggs before they hatched. Like probably about 2-3 kilometers before the finish line. I think at that year I had about a 38-minute lead over second place. So I was like, I'm pretty certain I'm strong enough to push a bike for at least a kilometer.
Yeah, I'd push it in if I had to.
I'll push the thing if I have to. Like it's all good. But like I know for certain I was nervous as hell, because like you just can't count anything in that race, because one navigation wrong turn and not knowing what the stage was coming up, that was my first thought. It's like, geez, if I make a mistake now, like I'm leading this thing and I can throw it all away today still. Like it's not a guarantee. And when I saw that finish line, it was like starting to sink in a little bit that it was kind of going to happen. And then I think I had like a 380 kilometer liaison right at the end of it that I had to basically just reflect on the last 2 weeks of racing over there. And it just felt like a dream. It was like, there's no way in the world this has happened. Like someone's gonna slap me when I'm at the finish line. I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna be getting ready to get on the plane and go to the race. And it was like I say, a dream come true. And to have that trophy in our hands that first time was like I still get shivers now to it, really.
Absolutely. As Australians, we get shivers, mate. Like that's a game changer there. It was definitely a proud moment, and got a lot of people on board with off-road racing, which was amazing. A lot of guys that, you know, like had no interest in Finke and had no interest in off-road racing as a whole. That story of the Aussie that went and rode and, you know, won Dakar, that's something that I think really brought eyes to our sport. So I think it's brilliant, mate. It was definitely, it was a proud moment for all Australians, especially dirt guys.
Yeah.
So.
No,
it's good fun.
100%. It definitely. I hope that it's definitely brought more attention to the motorsport race. But what we do, it is pretty badass, and like, it's nice to see more people take notice of this, because it's not a cheap sport, and people do this for the love and passion of it. You don't trophy truck racing, you don't make money out of it. It's
put it in
money.
A pile and burn it. That's what you do.
Yeah, 100%. My accountant yelled at me every damn year.
Yes.
This is not the smartest investment you're doing right now.
Not very good.
I love going fast, and that's like I say, you basically. Well, I've kind of worked out roughly in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to spend about $8,000 in diesel, and you're going to go out there and win $10,000 prize money for Finke, but you don't do it for the money. You just do it because you love doing it, and you want to be passionate for the sport, really. And it's good that like the Dakar race has actually brought some more eyes on the motorsport racing and stuff like that. And like, it hasn't all been up to me either. There's been a lot of people that have gone over and done exceptionally well in their chosen sport for motorcycle racing, like Jack Miller and stuff in MotoGP and everything. So motorsport racing is definitely taking off extremely big, and it's cool to see. And we have produced world-renowned off-road motocross races and off-road races that can go over and compete against the best in the world. So it's
absolutely,
it's cool to see, and that's what you want, more people to see the sport. So then more support comes for the whole group, the whole field, really. So it's like you want to see everybody with a major sponsor on the side of their car or on the side of their motorcycle that helps the sport take off and get to the levels that we want to see it at. And that's for my eyes, my goal is I want more people to enjoy off-road racing and more motorcycle racing and things like that. And you want to just see the sport take off.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said there's a lot of passion in the sport, in off-road racing, and particularly in Australia. Like you said, we're only a small country, and you listed Jack Miller before, and then there's the Lawrence brothers over doing the Supercross. I talk about them all the time because I'm massive fanboys of those two lads. Like, it's so great that you watch the Supercross on TV, and you know everyone's doing their interviews, and then like Hunter or Jet comes on, and that abrasive Australian accent, and you know exactly where they're from, which is so cool.
Oi, mate.
Yeah. And
Boy,
such good down to earth people as well. Like there was a time you and Jack Miller came to Central Queensland, where we're from, and you hung out with Comiskey for a bit, and like it was just like you sort of wouldn't even know that Jack, that you're who you are, or Jack Miller is who he is. Like, he was just cruising around having a good time. Like, hey, you want to build a 200-foot super Buddha, with this machinery, and he was all on board for it. So
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you talk about off-road racing and the passion and the drive that is in it for the people that do it. And it's great that there are more eyes and the support and the eyes and the people that someone like yourself getting involved has brought to it. It's only great things for the sport.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
it, 100%. We're basically just Aussie bogans made that like to go
Yep.
fast, really, and
Yep.
that's about it. So, but yeah, it's just cool to see that actually starting to hit more mainstream media and getting TV time and stuff, because that's only going to bring bigger and better things for the sport and everybody involved, and it's racing in it, and that's the ultimate goal. It's just to try and like help everybody come and enjoy this sport more and more, and that's the biggest part of it. So it's not a cheap sport. There's options to somehow, you can cut back in certain areas to make it a bit cheaper, but then you don't want it to explode and take off, that it scares people away and they don't want to come and try the sport for their first time and everything. And that's where you see like the Can-Am category and stuff like that that's taking off. It's like it's massive big group now, and it was hard to see when those things first come out. Everyone was like, them golf buggies and blah blah blah.
Yep.
And like, I'm sure everybody said it. I'm sure I've said it at some point too.
We definitely said it.
But they are like a cheap alternative to get into and go racing and go and spend family time away weekends and have fun, go do something and go and race. But like I say, you see a lot of YouTube videos of them things getting messed up pretty damn hard, and you can see why, because they are a fast golf buggy that's that size. It's about basically the same wheelbase, but you can go 10 times quicker in the damn thing. So it's it's cool to see.
It definitely is. Hey, mate, it's obviously, I want to lead into Fink now with the biggest challenges that you've got, because you were talking about going fast. We're going fast in a couple of weeks now. Like, if we're when this comes out, we'll be at the street party, mate. That's what'll be going on. So it'll be pretty exciting. Yeah, we will be partying in Alice Springs. It'll be a good time. But so far, and I know that we've got a couple of weeks to go now, but what is the biggest challenge that you've heard? What's the hurdle coming into Fink 2022? And I know this is a crazy question, but let's go with it anyway. What are the goal sets for Fink? I mean, obviously it's to win, but what else is going on in the background to get you to a position, where you're a happy Fink man?
Yeah, look, it's like I say, it doesn't matter how much money you throw at this. It can all go pear-shaped, and like I say, it's you may not even make it to the race with the transporter or something could blow a wheel off. You don't know, but the goal is for sure to go back out. We won last year. It'd be nice to try and kind of cement that in this year and win again. But yeah, like with all the COVID world and everything that was going on, like last year was a bit of a rough run, because we didn't have the likes of Shannon Wrench and a lot of the Victorian boys and everything there. So Shannon's got a new car. I think Bo Robertson hoping, it sounds like he's going to have his new truck. And there's a lot of new cars. Like Smoothie just won at Pooncarie on the weekend. So the goal is for sure to win, but it's we've got a lot of competition, and it's good that everybody's going to be at this one. And this is the one that's kind of going to be that cements it all in, really. And I'm just hoping it doesn't go pear-shaped. So it's you just never know with the racing side of things, but it's it's going to be a challenge, that's for sure. I think dust is always a big issue. I wish at the moment the rain that we're getting here in Brisbane would piss right off and go west and actually rain on the track. So it gave everybody the fair chance and opportunity to go full gas and wide open, and made the best man win, really, and see where it ends up. So it's it's exciting. There's a lot of challenges with it. And the biggest challenge is just trying to keep that truck together and not anything exploding the thing, really.
Absolutely, mate. Well, I reckon that is a great goal set. Listen, if you're happy, I think we'll wrap it up there, because we've had a great chat. We're going to have to get you back on, mate. Hopefully after Fink, hopefully after a great position. That'd be a great time. But you've given us so much information. I know I speak for both of us. He'll speak as well. But man, even in this, and I thought I knew a lot of the stories. I've heard a few of the stories, but man, some of the things you've told us, again, this is what this Dirtbagz is all about, capturing those behind the scene fire stories that, most of us don't get to hear. I've truly enjoyed having you on. It's been a great time, Tobes, and best of luck at Fink 22, mate. We'll listen. As much as it pains me to say this, I'll cheer for you, even though you're in one of these trophy truck things. When are you going to buy a good car? Hey,
mate, come on.
oh,
These buggies are no good.
mate,
Nah,
hey.
I
Oh,
can't.
no good. Oh, hey, can we?
Nah,
I'm hoping we're clipping this now.
No,
No, it'll be a good year,
nah,
mate.
look,
We love them.
I need the real estate space, mate. That's why I went trophy truck.
yes.
There's a bit more real estate to try and
That
sell
makes
to make
sense.
this sport a bit
And
cheaper
they do look
for me,
actually.
but,
I know we're really pulling it here now at the end, but the other thing that I saw a photo of your car the other day, mate, it is looking spectacular. Like Mitsubishi backed, and with that Mitsubishi front, you like. How do I say this? The Rent a Year, it was a little bit industrial, the Mitzi look. I'm just saying it. But
yeah,
but
she was
this year,
basically a Mitsubishi found out in the street and just pulled the grill off it and just the cable tied the thing on there and made it kind of
found one in the Todd.
Yeah. Found it down in the Todd, mate. It was one of them burnt out ones, but it didn't burn the front of the grill out. So it was
perfect.
But yeah, no, she's looking good. Like it's when I first built that Mitsubishi body, it was a little bit of a testing thing. I was like looking at it when it was there plain white and no like graphics on it at all. And I was like, I think I'm going to cop a lot of heat for this. It doesn't really look like a trophy truck at the moment. But once you put all the like fine detail lines and everything and all the lights and everything like that, and like a little bit of a fake grill and everything, the actual guys in the States were really pumped on it. And every year I get probably 100 odd messages from the guys in Baja. I was like, when are we going to see this thing in Baja? Because it's the only one in the world. Like it's pretty crazy. People want to see it, but it's she's a Mitsubishi body, and everyone's took it on board pretty well. But it's a hard challenge to keep in front of them buggies you boys have got. And
well, luckily you can't frighten a Triton.
You can't frighten a Triton, mate. So you can certainly bash the hell out of one, but you can't frighten them. So
perfect, love it, mate. Well, we'll look forward to catching you again. Hopefully, we're out there having a Red Bull with you at the street party at Fink. We'll be out in Alice Springs as this drops. But mate, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we can't wait to see you out there and upper.
Well, just and one opportunity, mate. Is there anyone you'd like to thank, sponsors or anything like that you'd like to give a shout out that are going to help you? And everything like that. So we just thought we'd give you an opportunity to thank your sponsors and everything like that.
Yeah, mate, that's much appreciated. It's like I say, it's like looks like a one-man show, but it's a lot of big team effort from everyone. And Red Bull definitely helps a lot. And Mitsubishi, Albin's gearboxes, and Motec, BF Goodrich tires, Method race wheels, Ray from Dugan's Race Engines, Sparko. Everyone like that jumps on board to kind of make this all kind of happen. We had Brian fly over from Tisco. Tisco's a massive big part of the program as well. So there's so many moving parts to the whole thing. And James Lynn's going to tag into the computer tomorrow with the truck and go through the finer details of everything. So it's like I say, much appreciated for that, because it's a big show, everyone, and big effort that everybody puts in. It's not just from me as well. So it's
absolutely.
Full gas, and we'll be ready to send her out at Fink, and we'll see you boys out there. Appreciate it.
Legend, mate. Well, awesome. we genuinely really do appreciate you giving your time up tonight, this close to Fink and for the prep. So thanks, mate. We'll catch up with you out in Alice Springs.
Mate, sounds like a plan. Cheers, boys.